All right, hello to everybody. We've got a great group here today. We're expecting over 100 people. Thank you for joining me for this week's 15-minute work hack webinar. For the participants that have joined one more time, could you just give me a shout out by raising your hand using the Zoom functionality? I want to make sure I've got everybody on board and ready to interact. Fantastic. Great shout out to Ryan. Hi, Michelle. Alexandra. We've got Roger. We've got a great group here today. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. For those of you that know me, I'm Lisa Budell, CEO of FutureThink. We are an accelerated learning company that focuses on helping people eliminate complexity, embrace innovation, and get to the work that matters. So for friends that are joining me, thank you. And for people that don't know me or FutureThink, thank you for coming. My goal is to give you something that you can take back to work to reinvent how you either run your work, run your business, run your company, and give you more than you could possibly get before you finish a cup of coffee. So with that, I want to dive right in. We are recording this session, so if you don't want to take notes, don't. We'll give you the recording after. If you do want to take notes, get a pen and paper ready to go. Let's dive in. First things first to everybody here, I want to just go over the functionality. We're going to be using chat on your Zoom toolbar. I'm going to occasionally ask you to raise your hand, as well as we'll have time at the very end for some Q&A. So feel free to interact with me throughout. I might not be paying attention the whole time to your questions. I'll definitely get them at the end. So let's dive in and get started. What are we doing today? Today's webinar is about a new topic, 40 ways to reinvent your business. And the reason I did this today is because I think reinvention is on the top of everyone's mind because we've been thrust into it with this new world of work. Right now, most of us are trying to figure out how to reinvent our business based on being reactive, right? We've got a burning platform that we're all facing. I want to give you a creative but structured approach to reinventing your business that you can do proactively, which is how the best organizations reinvent their business. It's not episodic. It's not during an emergency, and it's not reactive. It's proactive, it's planned, and it's consistent. So before we dive into how to do it, I want to know what you're facing with reinvention right now. And I'm going to launch some polls to do that. So do me a favor, if you can find your polling functionality here. What I'm going to do now is I'd like to launch 3 different polls. The first poll is going to really get at how you do in terms of your company's reinvention. So let me launch this poll right now. I want you to think about before COVID-19. So 2019 and prior, in the past 3 years, how often has your business unit or your company, I don't know how big some of your organizations are, how many times have they reinvented what it does or what it sells? The choices are never, you've done it once, you've done it a few times, you do it continually, but it's reactive. It's kind of chaos. Or you do it continually and it's proactive. You stay ahead of the competition. Wow, a lot of activity here. Let me give it a couple more minutes. Never, once, a few times. Continually, chaos, continually, in a great way, proactively. All right, let me close the poll. Let's launch this and see what we got. Here are the results. For most people, it's a few times, right? 38%. Not far behind that is never or chaotically. So I think we're getting a sense for most people are doing it in a reactive way, or they do it, most people, when they have to. We tend to become complacent, and unless there's a burning platform, we don't really embrace it. I want to get you up on this poll to the continually, proactively level. All right, let's do another poll. Let me go to the next one here. Hold on one second. Okay, number 2. How good is your business unit, your company at reinventing or transforming? So when you do it, what do you think? You're amazing, you're a role model. You're very good, but it's challenging with great results. You get the job done. Not great, it's a lot of work and not great results. And finally, horrible, why are they doing this to us? Remember, this polling's anonymous, so it's okay for you to say horrible, why are they doing this to us? I'll give it another couple seconds. Amazing, very good, good, not great, horrible. Okay, I'm going to end polling and share the results. And here we are. The results are not great, right? It's a lot of work without a lot of great results. A lot of times we do change for change's sake, or we do it again in a reactive way, so we don't do it as well as we would like to if we had more time to plan for it. Let me give you one more poll, and then we're going to dive in a little bit further. Poll number 3, here we go. We've talked about how often, we've talked about how well, but now I want to talk about how important is it? So in your view, how important is transforming your business currently? Mission critical? Very important? Somewhat important? Not important, but it sounded cool to be here today. Okay, I'm not surprised so far by the results. A few more people chiming in. Oh my God, I think this is my 7th cup of coffee today. Here we go. I'm going to end polling, so get that last couple votes in. Okay, let me end it and let me share the results. Here are the results. Most people say it's very important, followed by mission critical. So here's what's interesting to me. We just launched these 3 polls. Most of you have done some sort of transformation, but it seems chaotic. Most people feel that your approach is chaotic or reactive. And here we are saying, though, it's a very important thing for us to do. So why aren't we better at it? And how can we go about it? Let's dive in and talk about that a little bit more. I think actually that most people want to reinvent their business and they want to be thoughtful about it, but they don't have an approach how. And also they're kind of mired in unnecessary work, so they can't get to this work that matters. So let me launch forward and tell you a little bit about what people are doing right now. What they're focused on is not just reinventing, but building agility with their teams. So how can we start to get people more comfortable with change and being able to pivot? There's a lot of examples right now that I want to share with you that you've seen just in reaction to the pandemic. So you might have read that Dyson, which is fantastic, has reacted by changing their production lines and come up with a new product to create 10,000 ventilators in the UK. What they've done is they've come up with something called Covent, and this is a specific product specifically for the COVID-19 response. So they've pivoted quickly to come up with something using their ingenuity and gotten into the medical field. Another good example, Giorgio Armani in Italy, which has been incredibly hard hit, is taking its production lines and actually pivoting to make single-use overalls that can be used in hospitals. Taking it another step further, maybe if you're like ESPN, what do you do when they're not even having sporting events anymore? Well, you appeal to people's thoughts of nostalgia for those times when they really loved getting together and experiencing sports by actually showing. It can be the 1980 Dream Team, or it can be not just Miracle on Ice, it could be that Zamboni player that actually got into the game and actually scored the winning goal. So their idea here was, how do we keep people happy and nostalgic in times that might be a little unsettling? But then there's smaller businesses, right? Not all of us are big behemoths that are on this call. It even comes down to the individual level, where we see people like stylists in LA that are actually giving video tutorials to people that need to get their hair cut. Don't laugh, I may engage with these people after this call. And even, this is one of my favorites, there's a small plumbing company in Florida that actually is giving people help that are having plumbing issues. And this is a guy over here in the right-hand corner, Next Plumbing, to walk them through their problems using video chats. They've also invested $16,000 in hazmat suits, so people that do have emergencies and can't fix it on their own, I probably would be one of those people, they will come in and actually fix it, but they've invested in safety equipment for you. Going a step further, shout out to Michelle Carter, one of the colleagues of mine on the call. You all have probably seen this. What if you're a llama farm and you can't have people or kids come and pet your llamas? Well, invite them to actually do a Zoom bomb. And for $300, and they have gotten over 300 orders, but $300 is if you have more llamas. You can have one llama for $100. They've gotten over 300 orders just in the past 2 weeks, and it's gone a long way to help pay their payroll on this llama farm. These are great examples of how people are reinventing themselves when there's a burning platform. I think these are admirable, and I think this is what we're all going through right now. How do you reinvent when you have no other choice but to do it? What about companies, though, that are constantly practicing proactive obsolescence? That's what this is about, not reacting to change, but actually shaping it. And that's people that actually make pivoting a part of what they do all the time. And let me give you a couple examples of companies that do that, and then I'll share an exercise of how they do it. So what if you're a company like BMW? The automotive industry has been facing change for a long time. Their biggest issue isn't other forms of transportation or other car companies, it's actually demographics. More people are going to be living in dense urban environments, cities of 20 million or more, mega cities, very soon. And so BMW is making its strategic initiative to partner with cities to come up with mobility systems, because they know in the future, they might not make cars. They might be about renting out time and space with your car. They might be about renting out parking lots. They might be about alternative forms of transportation. And they constantly look to trends for the future so they can shape it versus have the future being put on them. Another great example of this is Shell Oil, which, believe it or not, and I put this example in here before oil went below zero this week. Again, a wild card. Who would have known that that would happen? But what was interesting about this is Shell Oil is an interesting company. They have a whole team of futurists on staff that look at what the future of energy is. And they know and invest in companies that literally could put them out of business. They believe that in the future, they might not extract energy. They might grow it or harness it. And so they're investing in solar, wind, water, all kinds of things, so that when an event happens to them, they're prepared for it and can pivot quickly. So how can you do this? How do you get on shaping versus reacting to change and, well, sometimes some dire issues? I want to talk to you about an exercise called TRIZ. Now, TRIZ is really interesting, and it is near and dear to my heart, because TRIZ is it's an acronym, it's a Russian acronym about the theory of inventive problem solving. And what this is was a Russian patent scientist who studied over 400,000 patents. And he realized that looking through all these different inventions, that he could distill down to 40 different ways inventions happened, 40 different principles that you could reinvent your business. We've taken TRIZ and turned it into something that's more applied to businesses versus scientists, and you can use their same theories. This is a theory, TRIZ, of looking at 40 different ways for your business, and Samsung, BMW, and others use this quite often to pivot their businesses and save them hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Here's what it looks like. These are 40 different ways that you can rethink your business. Now imagine this. What if you had a product or service and you wanted to figure out, well, how do I reinvent it? The beauty of TRIZ is it takes your existing IP and allows you to extract more value from it. Not all innovation has to be disruptive. It can be incremental, and that becomes disruptive. And remember, there's no such thing as dead IP. It just needs to be reinvented in a new way. So when you take a look at this, how could you use it? And what's an example of how a company could reinvent themselves using one or all of these principles? Let's use a hypothetical. Let's pretend, for example, that maybe not a great example right at the moment, you're a movie theater. And you've decided that you're going to look at some of these opportunities to rethink your business. And maybe you'll look at partnering with someone. Maybe you'll look at ways to use off-peak times. Maybe you'll look at advanced technology to reinvent your business. Just for purposes of focusing. Right now, so much of your business is in person. What else could we do? Well, by using TRIZ, there's a few things that movie theaters did. Well, they partnered with, for example, the Met Opera. And the Met, aging clientele, most people are intimidated by the opera. It needed a new way to get out to people. It needed to be more of an entertainment platform. Now, streaming on theaters, you can actually see La Boheme or Madame Butterfly at certain times in high def in movie theaters. And they do it at off times or as special events to bring in different kinds of revenue. There's also Real Moms, REEL, sometimes moms with babies. They don't feel so welcome at the movie theaters during certain times, so they have designated times where moms can just bring their babies and have special showings early in the morning. Or maybe you can do this all night long. You can actually telecast, you can have MMA games, and you can have people that come in and do esports, self-service. You're partnering with a new way to get people into the younger audience into theaters, and you're using capacity at times from 12 a.m. to 6 in the morning that otherwise would go unused. So you get the idea. I'd like you to think about how could you reinvent your business. So for example, maybe you just take one of these. Maybe it's breaking it apart like Floor Systems did. They used to sell carpets. Now they sell carpet pieces. And they're able to actually have people buy different pieces and put together their own carpets. Maybe it's about removing. Riedel Glasses actually took the stem off of glasses, which was unheard of in wine circles, and now has one of the best-selling glasses of all time. Scott Tissue Paper actually took a page out of commercial toilet paper and removed the inner tube, which costs them less and is more eco-friendly. And Cirque du Soleil removed animals and has one of the most successful circuses of all time. You could duplicate. Southwest Airlines duplicated pit crews from Formula One racing to actually make their boarding and getting off of planes faster. You can reverse, like Mars did. They actually had an internal service, their logistics that they learned was the best in the industry, and made it an external service that now they sell as a consulting service to the rest of the confection and packaged good industry. So here's what I'd like you to send into your chat bar right now. If you could pick any one of these, any one, which one would you choose to reinvent your business right now? Let's type that in. If you could do any one of these and type that in for me, which one would you choose? I'm just going to let people answer. This is interesting. Okay, oops, let me go back here. Great, a lot of people answering, fantastic. And the chat and the Q&A, wonderful. So what I want to have everybody, most people, by the way, told me off peak, which I thought was fantastic. And another, advanced technology, that's another one. Reinvent, that seems to be another one people are doing. It's a wide range. It's a wide range. This presentation, again, will be given to you afterwards. So you can have these 40 different ways that you can reinvent your business. But what's interesting about it is there's lots of different ways that you can rethink things. Let me leave you with this because we're out of our time, and then we'll go into Q&A. If you're going to be actually reinventing your business, how do you go about it? First of all, pick a product, process, or service, just one to focus on. Once you define what one that is, brainstorm one idea for all 40 of the different ways that you have within TRIZ or 40 opportunities to reinvent your business. Another way that you can do it is you can divide it up among your teams. Take 8 groups and give them each 5. Pick just 5 of the different ones and have people go deep on them. There's lots of different ways that you could use this to come up with new ways to get more value out of what you have. There's lots of different things we can talk about, and I'm going to do that in Q&A here. But I hope that you get the principles of TRIZ and what it can do for you. A good news for everybody that's participated here today, 40 Opportunities is a tool that we have that comes with facilitation guides, timing, ways you can use it with your team, discussion guides, as well as a worksheet that gives you questions to think about for each of the 40 opportunities, real world examples to take a look at, and then areas for you to generate ideas. We're going to be giving away this tool to 10 lucky people that we choose, who, when we are done with this, we'll send everybody the recording, but promote the recording and the webinar on LinkedIn, their social media, whatever. We want to get more people involved in giving away free things that can help them reinvent their businesses, and you can help us spread the word. So we'll be giving you that link later, and again, 10 lucky people will be chosen, and we'll be giving you this tool so you can reinvent your own business. So with that, I just want to remind everybody, keep us in mind for these kind of on-demand or remote type of learning lessons. We do this with keynotes, we do this with on-demand tools, and we do this with workshops and webinars. Think of us on social media. We are always on Twitter, on LinkedIn, as well as on YouTube with lots of free videos that can help you reinvent your business and get to the work that matters. For those of you who can stay on and do some Q&A, that would be fantastic right now. I'll be happy to take some questions. And for those of you that need to drop off, thank you for your time, and I hope we see you on the next webinar. So let me actually go right now, everybody, and let me get to some Q&A, because I see there's a few people that have actually popped in here. Okay. Let me go to mine here. Great. Okay, some people, by the way, if you're raising your hand, don't raise your hand, go into the Q&A in the chat bar. That'll be helpful for me because then I can see you there. That's easier. Okay, first question. is, let me go here, forgive me. What's the most used in terms of TRIZ? What's the most used? So by most used, I think you're talking about the 40 opportunities. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go back to that 40 opportunities slide while we're talking and give everybody a view of it. There we go. Okay. I'll tell you, the most used are usually a few things. They're easier ones. People usually start with ones over here called partner, because partner is really easy to do. People are used to doing that. They do frequency, because you can change the frequency of what you do pretty easily, do more of it, do less of it. A lot of people actually change to upmarket. They try and create an upmarket product like a black card or something that's more exclusive. And for where it's appropriate, people do off-peak or off-season things because they're trying to fill capacity. There really is no one way that people go about it. It's whatever is appropriate for your business. All right, let me go back here, sorry, to the questions. Can I describe to invert something? Yes, actually invert is actually kind of an odd one. Invert is one where you would go, where you turn something external internal, or where you turn something internal external. So that's just a different way to look at it. What is the burning platform that I mentioned? What I mean by burning platform is typically people don't change, or companies don't change unless it is forced upon them. The burning platform analogy, there's a lot of different strategies or stories behind it, but it was once described as people that were on an oil rig and they had no other chance. The oil rig is on fire and they have to either jump into the ocean to save themselves or stay on a burning oil rig. What do? And it's called a burning platform. Do you dive in or not? And most people don't dive into the water to save their company until it's literally on fire. And so what we want to be able to do is not have a burning platform to change our businesses, right? That's reactive. We want to have a proactive approach by using TRIZ or proactive obsolescence. How do you put what you have out of business or evolve it to something better? Here's another one. I'm curious about silver linings. Can you tell us more? Oh, yeah, actually silver linings is interesting. That sometimes can be about turning lemons into lemonade. So, and I'll have to pull it up here, forgive me, but that might be taking a negative and turning it into a positive. So we actually do an exercise with a lot of people called That's Great, where we teach people how to take something negative and have to respond to every single thing that's thrown at them by saying, well, that's great. That gives us an opportunity to try X, Y, Z. That's what silver linings does, is try to take something negative and look at positive. Okay, let me go to the next one here. I'm curious about refill or reclaim. Okay, some of those things get around things like self-serve, etc. And the thing about refill or reclaim is sometimes things are one-off uses. How can we make it something to either, this isn't frequency, but something that can be used again and again and again and again versus a one-off exercise? Let me take another one here. Another person asked me about Empower. Empower is about self-service. A good example of that would be a lot of times technology is used to empower. So if you're a movie theater, you would empower people by being able to use Fandango and get their own movie tickets online. They can check in without having to have somebody taking their ticket, and they literally can order their own food rather than having to go to a concession stand. One other thing here, somebody asked about, what was the other one? Sorry. Oh, integrality. Sorry, I didn't understand what you read. Integrality is basically, it's a clunky word, but how do you integrate yourself into another business? So a really simple way of talking about that is, so for example, now if people go to a Walmart and you find a bank in a Walmart, or you find a beauty salon in a Walmart, or you find you understand what I mean. It used to be that you could find a FedEx embedded into a Kinko's before they actually merged. So it's how do you embed yourself, that's another way of looking at it, in a like partner where you could get mutual benefits to your business. And one more question. Okay, gotcha, thank you. One of the things about break apart, what does that mean in terms of break apart? One of the things that was interesting when you first read about Break Apart is most people think that you find value by adding more. And one of the things that we found with a lot of IP is a lot of people get more value by breaking it into smaller parts. So an example of that might be the floor example that I use. Rather than selling big pieces of carpet, just sell pieces that then people can customize and make their own. And it's easier to replace when someone spills on it. Another thing related to that is to miniature or downsize. A good example of that is Benjamin Moore. They decided a lot of people are really frustrated that they have to go in and buy even a smaller can of paint when they just want to get a sample. So they started coming up with little tiny ounce sizes of paint that people could buy before they actually had to go and buy the big gallons of paint. And it launched a whole part of their business and actually a lot more loyalty for their business as well. Okay. I think we are out of time. I promised people that we would be done, and we've already gone over, but I think it's great because the more questions, the better. For people that do have extra questions, actually, sorry, a few more just came in. I'm going to answer them here, and remember, you're going to get the recording, and of course, 10 lucky people are going to get the tool, which I hope you'll use. A couple things here. Any of these 40 ways that are particularly relevant to business during COVID? This is interesting. That's a great question. What Reinvent is particularly important during COVID because I think some people are having to reinvent not just what they do, but how they work. And I think that that's interesting. So for example, myself as a company, what if we had only done things offline? We would have to completely flip and reinvent and do everything online. So I think that that is really interesting. I think another one is around technology, advanced technology, because people are thrust into using it now. They can't physically get together, so they don't have any other choice except to embed some type of technology into how they work. Another question, do you offer a workshop for this tool? I love this and I want my entire business unit to do it. That's a great question, and the answer is yes, we do. We actually have a whole course. We only do 1-hour courses. Both remote and in person with business units, and we deliver this tool to teams. In advance, we would ask you what your business unit question is or your issue. We would design it to either open this up to an entire team or only assign certain ones depending on what your business problem is. We'd help you curate that, and everyone would get the tool after. Again, this is about getting more value out of existing IP versus just being disruptive. Let's see, another one. In our experience, how long does it take to do this with a small team of 10 people? You could do this exercise at a status meeting and have people just off the top of their head do it in 30 minutes. If you assigned each of them one, I've seen people take an entire day. And what they do with that is they would assign a team, these are large teams, one of each of the 40 or a handful of the 40. They go off, they brainstorm it, they come back together, they build, they go off, they come back together. If you use 40 opportunities and you go through all 40, I would designate at least a morning to do it. I think a team of 10 is great. You don't want a huge team. I think giving people a handful is great to tackle because once they do one, they're interested and they want to do more. And you should be able to come up with a few ideas for each of these. At the end of a morning with a typical company, 10 people trying to tackle at least a handful of these, you could get hundreds of ideas, hundreds of them. And what you'll find is really interesting is you'll find some of them start to overlap or you can combine them together. The trick is to focus on a specific process, product, or service. Don't try and reinvent your entire business. That's too vague. So be specific about a particular product, service, or product, and that will help you get better results faster. Okay, everybody, thank you. I hope this was helpful. I can't wait to do this next one with you. Each time we do a Work Hack webinar, we focus on a specific tool just like this to help you reinvent your business or work better for success. I hope everyone's doing well in these times. It's great for me to collaborate with you all. You give me energy, you give me excitement, and I really appreciate your support. Thanks, everybody, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.